Welcome to our tutorial on drawing 3D models in Java. In this session, we will dive into the world of 3D graphics and learn how to create stunning 3D visuals with ease. We will be using Java's JavaFX library, which provides a powerful framework for creating modern graphical user interfaces and rich user experiences. Before we get started, let's ensure you have all the necessary tools installed. You will need a working Java Development Kit, JDK, preferably version 11 or higher, and an integrated development environment, IDE, like IntelliJ IDEA or Eclipse. First, let's set up our JavaFX environment. If you haven't already, download the JavaFX SDK from the official website and set it up in your IDE. Make sure to configure the project settings to include the JavaFX libraries in your build path. Now, let's create a new JavaFX project. Open your IDE and create a new JavaFX project. If you're using IntelliJ IDEA, select JavaFX application from the project types. Let's name our project 3D Graphics Demo. Once the project is created, let's create a new Java class named main. This class will be our main entry point for the application. We need to implement the start method, which is essential for any JavaFX application. In this method, we will initialize our 3D scene. Next, let's create a simple 3D shape to display. We will create a box for our initial demonstration. It's easy to create and gives us a good sense of depth. With our box created, let's add some basic lighting to the scene to enhance the 3D effect. JavaFX provides several options for lighting, and we will use a point light for this example. Alright, we have our basic 3D box with lighting in place. Let's now run the application to see how it looks. As we run the application, you should see a red box in a light blue scene. Now, let's make it more interactive by adding rotation to our box. Here, we're using a timeline to apply a continuous rotation to our box. It's a great way to give motion to your 3D shapes without complicating the code too much. Now that we have a spinning box, let's move on to combining multiple shapes. We'll create some cylinders and spheres to populate our 3D space. Let's run the application again to see how these new shapes look together. Fantastic! Now we have a box, a cylinder, and a sphere in our 3D scene. But we can enhance the experience by allowing user interaction. Let's set up mouse event handlers to rotate our shapes based on user input. By dragging the mouse over the scene, you can now rotate the box. Feel free to add similar handlers for the cylinder and sphere, and experiment with how they respond to user input. Now that we have basic interaction down, let's take it a step further. We can introduce different colors to our shapes as well. Let's create a method to randomly assign colors. You can call this method whenever you create a new shape to give it a randomly generated color. Let's apply this to our cylinder and sphere. As you run the application now, each shape should now have a unique color every time you create them. This adds a fun and dynamic aspect to your 3D scene. We're making great progress. Now, we can add some more complex shapes. Let's create a torus. Unfortunately, JavaFX doesn't have a built-in torus shape, but we can simulate one using a combination of other shapes. In this snippet, we're using 20 small spheres arranged in a circle to simulate the look of a torus. Notice how each sphere is positioned based on simple trigonometric functions. Now let's run our application. You should see a torus-like shape formed by multiple colored spheres. This is a simple yet effective way to simulate more complex shapes in JavaFX. Next, let's explore adding textures to our shapes. Textures can bring a realistic feel to your models. Let's create a method to apply a texture from an image file. With this method, we can now apply a texture to our box, cylinder, or any other shape. Remember to have an image available in your project directory. As we apply a texture and run the application, you will notice the box now has a unique image applied. Experiment with various images to see the capabilities of creating visually appealing 3D models. Now for a bit of fun, let's create a ground plane for our 3D shapes to sit on. We can use a large box with its height set to a minimal value, and run the application again to see the ground plane. You have a better context for your 3D models now. As we progress, let's discuss how to implement camera controls. This lets users orbit around your models or zoom in and out. We can create a perspective camera for a more dynamic viewpoint. Notice how I set the camera Z position to -500. This allows us to view all shapes. You can add mouse event handlers for panning and zooming as well. This added functionality provides a better user experience. You can now scroll to zoom in and out, giving users the ability to inspect their 3D models more closely. Now we've covered many foundational elements in drawing 3D models in Java. But if you want to take your 3D applications to the next level, consider learning about shader programming and more advanced lighting effects. As we conclude our tutorial, I encourage you to experiment with different 3D shapes, texture applications, and user interactions. The more you practice, the better you'll become at 3D programming. Thank you for watching. If you found this tutorial helpful, please like and subscribe for more programming content. Leave your questions in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.